Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's daily brief recap. Interesting breadth data here suggesting things are kind of weak, but maybe we're starting to get near some sort of troughing period. Cool to see this is we're slowly working towards this being integrated on the site. And you can see the dashboard is filling itself out nicely. Interesting S&P 500 breadth is kind of breaking down here a bit. And I think we've been talking a little bit about that, about how sort of the internals of the market are looking a little heavy again. And considering this is May, sell in May and walk away, I don't think that should shock anybody. As I went into great detail yesterday, if you are interested, TRI does have a cute little promotion that we're offering. Try and get old people that used to be site members, maybe only took the level 1 in the past, maybe incentivize you a little bit to pop back on the site and complete your education with us here at TRI. So maybe give that a peruse. You can actually find it on the front page if you want that link right there. With regard to our conversation here today for you guys, yes, this chart's looking a little messy, but, on balance, the message is generally the same. There are some interesting uppers and downers in the market, so never a dull moment, but I find it fascinating how the bigger proxies in the market are all kind of just parked here, and we're kind of waiting for that shoe to drop. That's going to sort of be, all right, here's where we're going this next go round. Right now, we're still sort of humming and hawing. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? As always, not a bad idea. Check in on the US dollar. We had that little double bottom come in there the other day. Enjoying a bit of an uppie here today. And believe it or not, I am thinking now pressing up against these old highs, which would be sort of a risk off, fear on kind of vote. So I guess it really shouldn't surprise us that other risk off assets are actually starting to look a little firmer here. And the risk on assets are starting to look a little bit weaker. So specifically with things like the stock market, the bigger bourses, if you will. Should it surprise anybody that we rallied up and hit AB equals CDs and hit mountain man levels and then started to run into a bit of traffic and resistance? That shouldn't surprise anybody. And if you watch this video channel long enough, you'll come to realize this is just so business as usual. There is nothing out of the ordinary here whatsoever. The question ultimately is, typically stock market likes to top in May. I always suggest right around my birthday is a great time to just basically take profits on the stuff that you bought last winter. Buy when it snows, sell when it goes. So if we did have to swoon here, usually the month of June is a nasty, nasty month in the stock market. Not only do you have a lot of seasonality forces, the commodities industry, a lot of demand backs away through that month, but also, too, there are countries around the world that actually have their tax loss selling deadlines June 31st or June 30th, like Australia, for example. So not only does demand come into question, but you also have actually a whole bunch of motivated sellers. So shouldn't surprise anybody to see the market swoon into June anyway. And then, of course, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto cross just so happens to be June 30th, July 1st. And, you see what's going on in the world with this crazy sickness. I don't think that we're done this thing for a long time. And, the insistence that economies open back up while we still have flare-ups popping up here and there, it's got trouble written all over it. I'll tell you that much, by crackers. We did get a little bit of an empire fail. It is sloppy empire. Certainly not a balanced floor for the empire, but this is a 3-bar fractal sell signal. Interesting how the counter trend rally this morning could do nothing more than just get up and tag the trend line, and we resume the selling. So, long and short of it here, if we actually change this to a clothesline, if we finish the day here, remember I told you about Ethereum recently, and what are institutional players going to think if they see clothesline M's? Well, hopefully you can all see if we close here today, and that's still a big if, but if we do close here, that is a very well-defined M. And you know what you're supposed to think if you see the market smiling at you. Anyway, is what it is. Take it for whatever it's worth. Merry Christmas. Oil, same comment that I've had here probably for the last week, and this will probably go on, my opinion, for the next month or so, is I believe that oil is basically stuck between a range here. And, dips through those seasonal weaknesses down to 15 to fill in that gap seem totally realistic to me. And 38.2s and these previous highs, that to me seems to be very significant resistance. So I find it very hard to believe that we'll get up through 30 anytime soon. But we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. Spent a lot of time in the daily brief here talking to site members. I had mentioned it briefly to you about this potential straddle in the bond market. And as you can see, we walked through the math of how you'd put the straddle trade on, what your cost of the trade is, and then if the market actually goes to either this bearish AB equals CD or this bullish AB equals CD, how you win, just based purely on buying a call and a put at exactly the same time. What's your break even? And what kind of money do you actually realize if the markets go to these objectives? So a really cool example, but it's basically the same message I said yesterday. I believe that the bond market is in a narrow sideways channel right now. And really the question is, where do we close? Do we close out above here? If so, probably heading up into this 192 area. If we close down below here, probably interest rates are going to crank up aggressively. And we're probably going to trade down to this 158 area. I mean, you just don't know what the hell is going to happen, but this is actually a time-tested model where, in essence, you can either straddle this and put the positions on right now, or you can wait for a close on either side and take the trade appropriately. But if you wait for the breakout, obviously the premiums on the options are going to be much, much higher. So, with that said, basically sideways in the bond market right now still. Horrible econs. I think we had another econ that was just an absolute disaster today. Historic lows. Oh, the sky's falling. At the same time, U.S. government's come out and said, here is a $3 trillion stimulus package. I mean, where the hell are they coming up with this money? It's ridiculous. So we've got that either does demand overwhelm supply because equity is worthless. It's a fugazi. And the only thing guaranteed is something like a bond, which technically is guaranteed by the issuing party. The principle of it, that is. Or does the U.S. federal government come out and say we are going to dilute the shit out of the market? We are issuing trillions and trillions of dollars of new bonds, and the supply of all these new bonds just completely overwhelms the market. Right now, I get the impression that the jury is still out. We have been talking to you guys recently about, remember risk on, risk off. Do we M out here? Interestingly enough, the junior stocks relative performance to the industrials, they're getting hit harder here today. And we had said recently, we did have this little fractal top, had that very wide inside bar, and then we sort of said recently, if we M out here, oh boy, that's probably the end of the seasonal bull market. And that makes sense. Sell in May, walk away, blah, blah, blah. I suppose you could, just as a simple trend analysis, just simply say, you know what, I'm going to play connect the dots. And I'm going to let the market come down into this support line, and then if we start failing, but I have to respect this M. The way I would look at it right now is the fact that this low is lower than this low means just in the time being, the junior market is basically parked. I don't really see a lot of outperformance. I don't necessarily see massive underperformance, but I'm not really looking for junior stocks to just rip higher here. We did have a really nice uppie. We got off a few doubles on things like blockchain stocks and some pharma names and stuff through this uppie. If we roll over an M out, it might mean that junior stocks, we're just going to be cooling our jets for a while. Interesting proxy in the metals markets. I kind of talked to you. I don't know whether I talked to you guys in the public about this yesterday, but I am very interested in the silver bot. And traders just got to trade. I've told you repeatedly, I'm not a fan of investing in any of these commodities. But, if a trade setup comes in, you know me, I love trade setups. And we had this very well-defined bot setup come in on silver, basically suggesting a test of the old highs. I suppose one could argue that if we start getting into the risk off and gold and silver and all that start cranking back up again, I don't know. Like when the market really fell apart there, silver was dragged down with it. But, I love my W's, and I got one low, two lows. I don't know whether I have a third low here or not, but, not a bad defined 25 level. You might even argue that this is a little bull AB equals CD. So if we tick up through here, then she's off to the races. Right now, kind of like the gold I showed you there earlier, kind of stuck, but pressing up against the top end of this recent consolidation range. And so to that end, of course, I've been following this Great Panther forever. I used to have clients of mine who actually owned this way back here, when I was actually a broker back in this world. And actually, I had a number of clients that did really well on this rally. So looking at this chart right now, and you can kind of see higher highs and higher lows, kind of defines a bull. The problem here is seasonality. I don't know whether this is the best seasonal window to look for this, but nonetheless, as you can see from this price action, maybe we'll blow it up here. Have a double bottom, big spike, consolidation. Is this trend continuation? If so, then we're probably painting up into this sort of 115 area. And I know it sounds crazy, but you could probably do things like play connect the dots, and maybe we hit it up into sort of this area up in here. I don't know, something like that. I'm just sort of totally eyeballing this. And I had one low, two lows, three lows, four lows, and then we broke out. Create a nice little W there. We have a smaller bot, and actually this little bot is that range, there to there, there to there. So it wanted you to get long at 72. And then we had, like I just showed you there originally, we had this bigger bot, which one wanted you to get long from 74. So I saw this pattern yesterday, and I went through in a bid at 71. Now, this is a trader's trade. So very simply put, if we go and break all of these lows here and we lose 61, I'm gone. It's as simple as that. I might even be telling you tomorrow, well, I got stopped out. That's the way it goes. It's trader's life. Don't have any emotion at this. Just draw your levels, draw your setups. If everything comes in, pull the trigger, away you go, live with the results. So, kind of an interesting idea and something I went and pulled the trigger on here today. And, this is basically predicated on the risk off trade starting to ramp back up again. We'll see how it goes. Kind of like that Mara trade, right? Wish me luck. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll make some money. Trade your setups. Live with the results. So, with that said, where's your little sheet here? I included that GPR chart as a reference for you. That's what I'm interested in the stock market today. I did have some stink bids working on some other names. Did get some fills. We can talk about that down the road. As for the corn, as I said, this chart's kind of looking busy, but, message really hasn't changed a heck of a lot. Dump prior to the halvening. Market counter trend rallies into halvening. It could be anywhere in here, I suppose, right? Consolidation. Counter trend rally. Totally expect rally back up to 61.8 at the minimum. You see where this old high is. Hell, we could draw a horizontal support and resistance level off of here. Right, that's right. Where is that? Not there. It's up there. Up the highest high? You get the idea. Right up there. So, I don't see any reason why we can't work our way up here. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. I think, I've shown you guys this repeatedly recently, but this was the price action from the last event. So dump, counter trend rally back into reload zones, then waffle, 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 and then our next leg lower. So that's what I'm thinking of here. I don't know if it happens exactly like this. Who knows? But I've been sort of suggesting to site people that we do have a big pivot coming up here, end of June, beginning of July. Bitcoin seems to like to top out. In this case, this is a 12-hour chart, so 50 bars divided by 2 is 25 bars, so about 20, 25 days ahead of that event, I guess. So I do like the idea of this capitulation, this final AB equals CD to happen somewhere, second week of June or so. So that's what I'm thinking here going forward. And, on the site video today, I didn't talk too much about Bitcoin because, frankly speaking, there isn't a hell of a lot to talk about here right now. The fundamental event has happened. We have rallied against previous highs. We have trade location. If you look at things like indicators, we're starting to get lots of indicator confirmation. Big honking double divergences, Willy stupid, RSI, woohoo move into overbought, then coming back down into the band. Just a ton of anecdotal evidence that the indicators are not happy at all right now. And usually the cadence, the way that I suggest to traders to sort of get yourself on a high probability path when considering trade setups is we look for location, then we look for indicator confirmation, and then the final piece of the puzzle is price structure. So interestingly enough, if we rally up into previous, head and shoulders levels, reload zones, mountain man, all that, and we start to M out, well, you know exactly what Brian's going to be doing. So we'll see how that goes. Only time will tell. But as it stands right now, I'm just sort of sitting on the sidelines, just waiting. The only other thing we'll mention here for your guys' offering, always like to take a quick boo at the poop coins. Obviously no major monster profit wins booked today. Where the hell's that damn chart? Why do I always lose these damn charts when I do this? Here we are. Look at Kevin's idea. Actually, no, this isn't Kevin's. This is library credits. Actually, I spent a lot of time on the site talking to people about, how I do believe that this is now the next 2.5 years. That's a long time. Everyone remembers last 2.5 years have been just shit in crypto. I think the next 2.5 years are actually our happy period in crypto. So with that said, should it surprise us, and I spent lots of time on the Daily Brief talking about, this is a weekly price chart. This is about as big of a weekly W as you're ever going to see in your life. I mean, can we really justify going and buying up here? I don't think so. I mean, reload zones, how ironic, 88.6s are basically right back down against those levels. And this was the 88.6 off of that last level. Look at Kevin there. Jesus, what a son of a bitch. Inside bar, if we go down to daily charts, nice W's in both of these things. You can't say this thing didn't set up trades. I mean, it's ridiculous how many trades set up on this thing. But the message I really want to convey here is that's a big honking weekly W. If we're thinking the next 2.5 years should be the happy period of Bitcoin and crypto. Does it make sense that this is happening? I think so. And the cool part about it is there any room for a name like this to run up and make you a lot of money down the road? I don't know. You tell me. Any profit potential there? How about there? And the cool part about it is somebody on the site actually said today while I was going through this, yeah, this thing is great. I used it the other day. And this is the whole point about fundamental analysis. You've got to have your story actually have a reason for existence. Turns out that this is actually a pretty popular product. So what a surprise. In comes the weekly W's. If you want to work bids at this point, I would just start with good old reload zones and just wait for price to get back down into this area. You want to be really cheeky and work 88.6 bids like a rock star like Kevin and our leprechaun of Arc, Ian? Okay, that's cool. But I just don't think it's in your best interest to be going and chasing up here. But what a great analogy of what do market bottoms actually look like. All right, I think I'll leave the free video at that for today. By all means, don't chase, right? You're not allowed to chase. Here are the chasers. They're getting punished, so don't chase. But get out there and have some fun. I was going to tell you about Kevin's little coin here. This CND, it looks like it's getting ready to rock and roll here. Look at that beautiful W. I talked about this the other day. I tell you, man, this is one hell of an opportunity down here in this space. Methinks there are going to be fortunes made. Wow, look at this BitTube just going for it here. So, and the interesting thing is as long as these altcoins are actually rallying like this, look at that W. God damn it. As long as these things are rallying like this, actually, I don't think the Bitcoin correction crash is going to be here right now. It looks to me like they're bidding up alts, which means money's coming into the space, which means, probably the face rip down is done for now, and it's just a question of us, positioning ourselves correctly. I said I was done, but here's another one. Look at this Stratus. This is so textbook. I don't know whether we want to do a fib off of the entire range, but what do you think the odds are that it bottomed right at 88? And notice, there's a cheeky little gap right there, too. Right there. Look at that double bottom actually came in right off that gapping level. Son of a gun. So, do with it as you please. I obviously can't buy this stuff for you. I can't manage your account for you. But I'll tell you. Oh, look at that. Kevin, what do you think? Was that a level or what? I know he's here. He's just lurking in the background. He's playing director and producer today. All right. Anyway, I sure hope you people in the public are learning. After I do these videos every single day. My number one purpose is I want you to learn. So if you have to take a screenshot of that, what does good trade location look like? Now we got a goddamn W in there. This stuff speaks for itself, people. Anyway. Okay, obviously there's no guarantees from the management. This thing might crap out, and if it does and you're trading this, then you better make damn sure to cover your ass. If you're gonna little old lady this stuff, man, this has got little old lady written all over it. So, okay, guys, I think I'm gonna leave the video at that for today. I hope you got some good value. All the best. Check out our promotional video, promotional deal if you can, and if it works for you, awesome. Julian's put a lot of effort and time into that, and I spent a lot of time in the daily brief. I really insist. Every single person that is watching this video today, you must finish this video and go and watch this just rock star of a girl, lady, beg your pardon, not girl, lady, Anastasia Lin, because this in essence summarizes exactly my feelings about dictatorships, lack of freedoms, and the absolute brutally corrupt and criminal behavior of dictatorships in this world. And I hate it. Can we please, as a society, as a species, move on from this world? So, Anastasia, if you need any help from this idiot Brian Beamish guy to promote your message, you want to send this along to her, I'm a huge fan of this lady, and anything I could possibly do to either keep her alive, because I believe the Chinese government is probably going to try and assassinate her. She's that powerful of a voice. Please go and watch this video, retweet it, share it. Let's get the message out that dictatorships are over in this society and this species, and we need to move on. All right. Rant done. Merry Christmas. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.